Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. In this video, I will provide an overview of the Personal Finance Manager Excel template, and this is the version 2 of this template, which is a much improved version compared to the version 1. So let's take a quick look at the objectives of this template. This template can be used, this is an Excel template, and it can be used to manage your personal finances. And specifically, you can track and enter information about your bank accounts, your credit cards, and also your cash. You can set monthly budgets for each of your expense categories, and then you can actually assess your actual expenses against the budgets. You can also do a lot of analysis on your income and expense trends over time, and this will be very helpful so that you get a better understanding of where the income is growing or where the expenses are growing so that you can better manage your finances. Finally, you can easily track the savings that you have every month and how the savings are adding up to your total net worth at any given point of time. So this template is a very simple template, but it can be very powerful to easily manage and get a better control over your personal finances. So this template is available for you to download from Indzara.com, and this is a free template to download. So let's take a quick look at the template right now. So we are now looking at this template, and this is a template where I've filled in with some dummy data, but when you download the template, you will not have any data, and so that you can start entering your own information. And I'm using the version right now that is compatible with Excel 2010 and Excel 2013 for Windows, and I also have a version which is compatible with Excel 2007 for Windows, which I will cover in a few minutes. So in the template has 3 sheets, and it's the settings sheet and then transactions and the report. It's a very simple template. We are right now in the settings worksheet where you enter information about your accounts, and then you enter information about your categories and how you want to categorize your financial transactions, and you can also set your monthly budgets. And specifically in the accounts, you have 3 different types of accounts. You have your bank accounts. Same way, credit card accounts, if you're owing money to your credit card accounts, then you should put negative. Mostly you will be owing money to the credit card accounts. So in this case, for example, to this ICICI credit card, I've entered negative 3,500. That means that is the balance that I owe the credit card company. And these are my starting balances in these 2 bank accounts. The third type of account is the cash account. Think of this as money that you have it in your wallet or money that you have at your home, not really in any kind of account. So these are loose money that sometimes can be easily missed. So it's very important that we understand and track this also. For example, when you go to your ATM and take cash out and it's in your wallet, so it's very important that you also track the transactions that happen in cash. So these are the 3 types of accounts. You can enter up to 20 bank accounts, up to 20 credit card accounts, and up to 20 cash accounts. If I want to enter a new bank account, I will just enter here something like this, and that creates an account, bank account, and then you can enter your starting balance just like that. So the starting balance is very important to understand. This is where, before you begin using this template, I would recommend look at your starting balances in all these accounts and then enter those values. Only then you should go and enter new transactions in the next sheet. Next, let's look at the categories and budget. So this is a section where you categorize the different transactions, and also you can set budgets. So there are 3 types of transactions. One is an income transaction where money comes to you, expense is where money leaves you, and transfer is where you are transferring money between 2 of your accounts. As I said, one of the examples would be ATM withdrawal, where you go and take the money from your bank account and put it in your wallet. So that's a transaction that is just a transfer transaction where money doesn't leave you, money is just moving from one place to another within you. And credit card payment is another kind of transfer transaction where you take the money from your bank account and then pay your credit card account. So that's again an example for transfer transaction. So the other thing to note here is the budget. So for expense categories, you can actually set budgets. In this case, I've set, for example, 700 for car, 500 for dining, and so on. And you can enter more information just by typing in here, and then you can set your budget. Very simple, and you can enter as many categories as possible. And this is an enhancement over the version 1 of the template, which had limited categorization. Now you can enter as many categories as possible. So now that's it. It's easy to begin, enter your accounts, enter your starting balance, and then create your own categories and budget. Let's go into the transaction sheet next. I have already filled in information here, and so as you can see here, I've entered about 100 or so transactions. And the best way to understand this is you enter each transaction in an individual row. For example, 2nd August 2014, I had a phone bill that was 100 rupees and the type was expense. There are 3 possible entries, as I mentioned. It can be an income transaction, it can be an expense, or it can be a transfer. This was an expense where I paid my phone bill, and I had categorized it as utilities. And please note that these fields here have drop-down menus, and the values that show up here are coming from what you entered in the settings sheet in the categories. And the subcategory, I have assigned it as a phone bill. The categorization is very important. It allows you to actually understand where the money is going, where the money is coming from. So please make sure that you spend time in categorizing your transactions. Finally, which account did I use to make this transaction? So in this case, I've used my ICICI credit card to pay this phone bill, and I can also add any comments if I want. And these 2 fields at the end are calculated fields, so please don't modify the formula here. It's very important that you don't edit these 2 fields. So we have entered an expense transaction. Similarly, here's an income transaction where salary 25,000 income came in, and I categorized it as salary, and it went into my Indian bank account. A couple of things to note here are specifically around when you have an expense or an income transaction, you always enter positive values. You see that it's a phone bill is an expense. I entered it as 100, and expense income, I also entered it as positive 25,000. So please make sure that you always enter the different transactions in positive. There are a couple of special cases. One is where you actually transfer the money. So let's look at an example of a transfer transaction. So take row number 22 and row number 24. So basically it's a credit card payment transaction where I actually took the money from Indian overseas bank account and I paid my ICICI credit card, which is very common. So negative 1,000 will be taken from the Indian overseas bank because I took the money out of it and then I put it in my credit card account. So positive 1,000 in my ICICI credit card. So basically it's a transfer transaction where I make a payment, take the money from Indian overseas bank, put it into my ICICI. So in such cases, in transfer transaction, you have to enter 2 rows of data. One is negative value, taking the money from your bank account here, and then positive value, same amount, transfer transaction into your credit card account. And this is an example of a transfer transaction. Another case, a refund transaction where you purchased something at a store and then a few days later you return the money. So when you made the purchase, you enter a positive value expense. But if you returned the item and the and the store gave you a refund, put that as an expense with a negative value. And I have a note here which explains why. And so please make sure that you consider that. Expense refunds and transfer transactions are two somewhat unique cases, but all other income and expense transactions just enter positive value in the amount. Now, after you enter all your transactions, time to go to the report. Very important that whenever you enter new transactions, it's very important that you go to the data ribbon and hit refresh all. And this will make sure that all the charts and tables here are updated because it is using pivot tables, and it's very important that you refresh your data. This is the first sheet in the report. This shows you the current net balance that you have of all the accounts together, and you can see your bank accounts balance, cash, and credit accounts. And it lists up to 20 accounts here. Here I can choose any one specific account, like let's say I want to change Indian Overseas Bank. Now I can see the balances in this specific account every end of every month. So this is very helpful, and I can also see this for credit card accounts. I can also see this for the credit card account here, which is State Bank of India credit card. You can see that in the credit card it's always negative because you always owe money to the credit card company. And on the left here, you can use this to compare whether you have entered all the data in this template correctly. Because remember that when you get your credit card bills, especially your bank statements, they have their own cycle. They don't usually begin on the month and then end in the end of the month because they have a different process. So your monthly cycles may actually not begin at the beginning of the month. So this little information here helps you to compare your specific cycles. For example, I can type in 1/15/2015. So beginning on January 15th and ending on February 14th, let's say this is my monthly cycle. And for the specific credit card account, once I type in these two dates, it'll tell me on January 15th, my beginning balance was this. Between these two dates, I spent 1,510 rupees in expenses. I didn't get any income into this account, and I transferred 3,000 from this account. So ending balance was this. So this is how you can track the transaction summary for any specific period for any specific account. Then let's look at the next sheet. This is what I call the monthly financial analysis, where you choose one month at a time and then it'll tell you all the information you would like to know about that month's transactions. So let's say, for example, I choose December, and you see that everything updated. So essentially it gives you total income in that month, expense in that month, how much did I save, what was my monthly budget. And this shows you where the money came from, and this shows you where the money was spent. This table here shows you by category what was my budget, how much did I actually spend, and did I go over my budget or under my budget. And overall, we did not exceed the budget here, but in specific categories, utilities, we went over the budget, but then in other categories, we were less than the budget. So that is how you can understand whether how you're performing against the budget. In addition, you can also see specific subcategories where your money is going to. So for example, when I click on utilities, I can see within utilities, where am I spending the money? It looks like phone bill is where I spend most of the money. If I want to see all kinds of categories, then I go here, and I can also see how much I'm spending in other subcategories. So now let's go to the third sheet in this report. This shows what are my expenses every month and how am I doing compared against the budget. So it's very easy to see. We went over the budget in November, we were very close in October, but otherwise we are pretty low compared to the budget levels. how much am I saving every month? So every month I'm saving this much amount of money, and how much is it adding to the net balance? So the net balance is totally how much you have at the end of every month. How much do you have, including all the accounts that you have? Finally, we have the trends section where you can actually slice the data by many different ways. In this case, I'm looking at all the years that I have data for, all the months, and I can specifically choose one account if I want and see all the expense transactions in that one account, and I can drill in further and I say, okay, groceries, how am I doing? Okay, groceries, I'm actually going down month over month, but maybe some other transaction like fuel, I'm pretty consistent. And maybe let's look at phone bill, where I had a pretty high December and then coming back down January and March. So very easy to drill down into your data for one account, for one window of time, or one type of transaction, or you can also look into each category, subcategory. Quickly, when you use the slicers, you can select multiple accounts at the same time or multiple values. Just click on control and then click on the other value, click on another value. As long as you're pressing control and doing it, it'll select multiple values, and you saw that the data was updated instantly. So this is the last section in the report page. All of this is fully automated, and it allows you to interact with the report and get a better understanding of where the money is flowing. Finally, just to recap, this is the Excel template for Personal Finance Manager, the version that is compatible with Excel 2010 and Excel 2013 for Windows. There is a separate file for Excel 2007, and this is also compatible with Excel for Mac 2011. The settings sheet look exactly the same, no changes. Transactions look exactly the same, no changes. The only difference is in the report section, where the older versions and the Mac version for 2011 do not support slicers, and hence I had to make some changes to the report sheet. The first page, there is no change to the first page. It works exactly the same. The second page, where we had slicers, I have replaced it with a drop-down menu where you can actually choose a month at a time. These things work the same. Instead of the charts, we have two tables where you can see the income category and the subcategory. And this budget table works exactly the same as it did in the 2010 version. This third page, how does my expense compare against the budget and how much am I saving? This is exactly the same as you would in the 2010 version, no changes. Finally, the trends, this is where the Excel 2010 version has a lot more options, but in the old version, you can choose a specific category and you can see the trend over time. And that's all we have in this report section. So again, a few charts have been removed. Other than that, you will still have all the functionality. And just to recap again, this is a version that's compatible with 2007 for Windows and Excel for Mac 2011. This templates can be found for the free downloads at indzara.com, and I really look forward to your feedback on the upgraded versions of these templates. And please let me know if there are any questions. Leave me a comment in the YouTube video section or in my blog post on indzara.com. Thank you very much for watching this video.